Hey, book club besties.
From Scrubs to Book Club, we're two burnt-out healthcare workers who love to yap about books. I'm Katie.
And I'm Star, and welcome to Aimless Attention Podcast.
Today, we're going to be talking about Godsbane by Lindsey Richardson. This is our first indie author book. This is one of my mutuals on TikTok, so shout out Lindsey. I love this book. So I want to say spoiler warning for Godsbane and also for the novella prequel, Deathsbane. Deathsbane, I just want to say, I freaking love Deathsbane. I love Godsbane. But Deathsbane, I was like, I can't read enough of this. I loved it so much. So, spoiler warning for both. And Lindsey actually recommends you read Godsbane and then Deathsbane, which is totally accurate because if you read Deathsbane first, you get spoilers for Godsbane. So, very important to read in that order, but let's get into it. So we get our prologue, which is a third-person POV. The rest of this book is written in first person from Ivy and Cal's POVs. And this is our third-person POV, which is an 8-year-old girl. We don't know the age of her at this time, but we find out in Deathsbane that she's 8. And she's getting pulled into the Eastern Sea, and she can feel the god of death encroaching. And I have in all caps, this is her father! During this time in Deathsbane, Draven, who is the god of death, is coming to collect her mother, who is Selene, who is the goddess of light. So death is encroaching during this time, but it's not because she's in the sea. It's because her mother is being collected by her father to go back to the underrealm. And the sea beast marks her spine, which awakens her powers. So Draven was like, her powers aren't awakening fast enough. I need this to happen now. And so that's when he uses Arcasia, who is the sea beast, to do that. These are all a ton of spoilers at the beginning of this book, but I was just so excited reading this. So I read Godsbane first, then I read Deathsbane, then I did the audiobook of Godsbane, and then for the outline of this, I was like skimming through Godsbane again. And after reading Deathsbane, I'm like, holy shit, there's so much.
I was like, when you're sitting here, I was like, I swear that Deathsbane's the one that like gives you
Deathsbane gives you all the info. So like I have a ton of Deathsbane drops throughout this because I'm just like, everything makes sense. Lindsey Richardson, you're so crazy smart. I love this. So, but she crashes back onto shore, and that's when vines sprout out of the sand dunes because this is her power awakening. She has the power to move the earth. So we learn about the jeweled kingdom of Corinth, which is where they live, and it's ruled by a king who's chosen in the ascension vote, who sits on the amethyst throne. And then there are regions within that are all different jewels. So there's the Emerald region, which is where Ivy lives, and her father is the governor, and she's the heir to the Emerald region. Then there's her father. Yeah, we say in quotations because it's not her real father. And then we have the Ruby, the Sapphire, Diamond, and Topaz regions. The current king is from the Diamond region. It sounds like, and I could be wrong about this, but it sounds like the capital moves along with which region that ruler's from.
I didn't
is what
understand
it sounds like.
the Diamond, the Emerald, so I was like struggling through some of this book. I
Yeah.
don't think audio book, no matter how well it was written, was helping because I was like, what in the hell?
I feel like
I turned it down to like 1.2 and was still like, I don't know, like.
I feel like when I read it, it made sense to me enough, but I think a lot of it is left vague for the purposes of Deathsbane kind of filling in some of the gaps.
Yeah.
Which it did. Like, I felt like I really understood what was going on.
It did fill in some of the gaps. It just, like, when you're reading it, you're just like, what?
Yeah. There were a few times in this book where I did have to go, okay, I'm vibing. I'm just going to like, I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but I'm vibing. And then I read Deathsbane afterwards and I'm like, holy shit, throughout the whole thing now when I'm going back. So the king's dead. Ivy is being sent in her father's place. This is being highly contested between all of the people and their council in the Emerald region because they're like, we should send someone else. This is an extremely patriarchal society that she lives in. Her father has been a prominent figure in trying to reverse a lot of that. Like he tried to bring legislation to make sure that all girls got to go to school and all that kind of stuff. So he, in having Ivy as his daughter, really has tried to move women's rights forward in this realm, but she's also been kind of gotten some pushback on it as well. And so she has this persona of Poison Ivy, which has actually been pushed by Lord General Marks, who is the general of the military, specifically for the Diamond region, that he oversees everything. And because the Diamond region is the king, he's like the second in command to the king. And he's kind of pushed this narrative that she's like this terrible person and she's poison ivy and all this kind of stuff. So this is where her personas come out. But in the end, it's her father's decision to send her. He's sick. He's not able to make the journey. And the ascension vote will take place in Amelie, which is in the heart of the Diamond region, which is the current capital of Corinth. And Ivy argues that Lord General Marks, who we learn by the end of this book, and we'll know more about him in Deathsbane, he is actually Machias. And so Machias is the wolf god who is the brother of the god king Nobis. And in Deathsbane, there's this whole big revolt that happens where they're trying to overthrow Nobis, led by Machias, and leads to a bunch of the gods getting sent to a different world.
I know it was a lot. I'm hoping the book that's coming is going to give us like more, because I was like, this is a lot to like.
It's a lot, but I love her storytelling.
No, I didn't hate it. I like loved it. I'm just saying, like, I was just like, okay, I need to like.
Yeah, I want more.
But this is also how
I want more.
I'm like, I know your brain is like, she's over here already thinking of the next book, and we're like, wait a minute, drop it all at once.
So she knows that Lord General Marks will be the vote for the Diamond region. He'll vote for himself because he's the closest to the Corinthian king, and he's waged wars in the name of the Golden Pantheon of gods. This is important because we know from Deathsbane that when the gods get sent to this mortal realm, we actually know this at the beginning of Deathsbane because Celine's father, who was Gavin the Green, is known in that mortal realm as that. He ends up dying because the gods survive off of worshipers and offerings from the people that are worshiping them. So when they end up in a mortal realm where they're not known, they don't get offerings and they slowly die from losing their power. That's what happened to Celine's father in this same mortal realm. But Machias learns that he can go around that by gaining power in this realm. So he, as Lord General Marks, goes around and he essentially builds up these armies and builds up the support. So people are now kind of worshiping him, and that's how he's survived and gained more power and gained more access to his magic throughout this time. And so during this time, she does not want Lord General Marks on the throne. I want to be clear. Nobody knows he's Machias at this point, except for people later on that we'll learn about. But at this point, Ivy doesn't know, neither does her dad or anyone on the council, that there are gods that are among them at this point. All she knows is she hates this fucker.
It took me a minute to figure out that he was a god. I kept trying to figure out if he was her brother. I think I told your mom, like, I was giving your mom like a theory. Yeah. I was like, you were like checking something, and I was like, what if it's her brother? And like, she's over here falling in love with her brother. And her mom's like, I haven't read this book. And I was like, I didn't say that you had to have read it. I'm just giving you theories. And your mom's like, just staring at me like, I just can't. Like, you two just, I don't know if you do it to her too, but she just like looked at me and was like, I don't even read these books.
I do it all the time.
Like, I'm over here like giving her theories of like, how fucked up would it be? Because that's what always happens, right? You fall in love with this guy that you can't figure out why he's so amazing, and you're both gods and it's your brother. I don't know. Your mom was just looking at me like, stop it.
I literally will be in like the third book of a series or something. I'll be like, oh my God, blah, 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 did this with this and this. And she's like, I don't know who any of these fucking characters are. Why are you telling me to?
And I was like, somebody needs to hear me complain about it.
But Ivy lays out the alliances to the council meeting, and she's like, look, Diamond and Ruby are going to vote together. They're already like in cahoots together. Sapphire is going to be our ally because they're already pissed off about all of the wars that Lord General Marks has been waging. So the only swing vote is Topaz. So we have to try to get Topaz to vote with us. That kind of ends the council meeting because Ivy's father's like, you are definitely going.
Yeah.
Ivy, we learn, has been having nightmares for most of her life, and she believes that the god of death awaits her at the end of this journey because of those dreams. So specifically, she sees pools of blood, the amethyst thrown on fire, onyx hair dripping wet, typically, and calling out a name her soul knows, but she can never recall. So I love this lore so much. I'm so excited to talk about this. So Ivy feels like all of the gods have done is abandon their people. Under Lord General Marks, Corinth attempted to invade and convert the island nations of Sinal, which border them, and they ended up fighting back, and they ended up in this holy war, which ended up having the Sinalians were fighting them, and they ended up losing this war. But this is an important key, again, because Lord General Marks is Machias, and he is aiming for gaining more power. And also, later on, we'll find out he's trying to serve everyone up on a platter to Nobis to get back home. So not only can he get like more worshipers through this, he can also gain his access back home. It didn't work but he's raged multiple wars at this point. So it's kind of interesting to see how much support he still has as Lord General Marks, even though he keeps entering in these wars that are not very popular amongst people. Ivy ends up using her power in the courtyard to release some of the tension, and she grows Godsbane, which is a purple flower with a black center.
Which is just fucking cool.
I love it. And this is primarily what she'll grow. And it's kind of, she has two sides of her power that are always warring. She has the life and the death, which is totally a tie back to her parents. And I love this so much. But anyway, so this purple flower with the black center is super important. And she mentions that the sections of the flowers in this courtyard, because there's like the different gods and goddesses are in this courtyard and the statues. And specifically this patch that she's working on is growing in front of the goddess of light, Selene, who is her mother. And this is also what Selene grows for Draven in Deathsbane. So she'll grow.
Know it's her mother?
She knows her mother's name is Selene, but she doesn't know that a god is her mother.
Okay. Because I remember, like, later, I remember yelling, I knew it. I was telling your mom.
Yeah.
This is when I was giving your mom, I'm pretty sure she's a god and doesn't know it. And your mom's just staring at me like, sure. Well, sure, it sounds good. She's a god. Sure. Like, I was just like...
Well, and the cool thing is that, like, throughout the first reading, when Cal ends up revealing that to her, I'm just like, holy shit. Wait, where did this come from? And then you read Deathsbane and you're like, oh shit, this is where this comes from. And then you go back and you read Godsbane and you're like, oh shit, it's sprinkled everywhere and I totally missed it.
No, I didn't. I was like yelling at your mom. I was like, I'm telling you. Just tell me I'm right. And she's just like, sure. You know how your mom just like, sure. You're so smart. Good job. Good job.
Please stop talking to me. I'm trying to do real work.
I'm never going to read this book. Leave me alone.
So before she goes to the Ascension vote, it's actually Ivy's birthday and they're throwing a ball for her. She's also like, I really don't want a ball. Like, this is the last thing I want to be doing right now. But her father explains that while they're on the way to this ball she doesn't want to go to, that one of Marks's men will be escorting her. And this happens to be the captain of Corinth, Captain Murphy, who is dressed in his hot all black self. Thank you, Anthony Palmini, for voicing this character.
I literally was like, I get it. I'm definitely a Teddy Hamilton girl, but I was like, I get it. I get why you girls are like, okay.
What I love about this is it wasn't Kingfisher that did it for you. It was Cal that did it for you.
It was definitely like, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Listen, once I really enjoyed this book.
Kingfisher was not like, I definitely was like,
yeah.
But there was something where I was just like, what the fuck? Who is this?
There's something about Anthony Palmini as Cal that's just like different.
It is different. It's not different. It's not his normal, like, him and fucking Teddy Hamilton are going to be over here fucking just making books for the next couple years.
So Captain Murphy is this tall, thickly muscled, onyx-haired, silver gray-eyed man, and his eyes and hair are the same color as Arcasia's. So we learn in Deathsbane that the eyes of the gods are golden, and when they're a different color, it's very important. So Arcasia's eyes were a different color. His eyes were a different color when he was born, which really freaked out Nobis. And then obviously Ivy has emerald eyes, which are the same color as the god of death's eyes as well. He also has emerald eyes. I put in parentheses, I have eyes and hair of Arcasia, his mother, 2 exclamation points, in all caps, I love Deathsbane.
I was literally reading her outline going, damn, Katie is crazy.
The outline is so unhinged compared to the other ones. Later on, Captain Murphy, I put this here, but later on he will tell Ivy that he grew up on the battlefield, but he is originally from the Diamond region. And this is where Selene and Tora had dropped him with his foster family. So Ivy grew up on the coast in a cottage with her father and Selene, who is the mother, who died when she was 8. Captain Murphy Cal grew up with 2 brothers and his adopted mom, Rhea, I think was her name. We also get introduced to Ivy's best friends in this section.
I have to ask, Miles is a man whore?
Yeah.
But does he not come off kind of a little gay?
He does. Okay. I thought he was going to be gay.
I thought he was going to be gay, and I was so confused when I was like, he's a man whore. Like, what? Like, that bitch is like, no, girl, don't wear that. Wear this.
And the person who ends up being gay is Kieran in the end.
Yes. So I was so fucking confused. Not that I'm like, you do you, but I was confused at, like, the personality was like, my son was like, no, girl.
He was giving gay best
friend.
friend.
What is this?
Yeah.
It was like, we like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah, he was totally giving gay best friend vibes. He's also the son of the governor's hand, who is Ivy's like council enemy.
Yeah.
Lord Yarrow just fucking hates her.
Yeah.
But Miles is not like that.
No.
He loves gossip and mischief.
Which, again,
stereotyping
so
people.
sorry. So sorry. Not that like I don't like.
I totally am like,
I'm 100% like.
Did you hear about this?
Like, no, but for real though, like sometimes I'm just sitting there like listening to people, and then I'm like, oh my God, Katie. So like I was not in this conversation, but I'm gonna tell you right now that like, yeah,
it's true though. So the other friend we get to meet is Quinn, and Quinn and her are kind of having a rough time right now because Quinn just got engaged to someone.
I don't
think
agree
it was
with
Nick.
it either.
And she is really only doing it because it's like it's a family alliance type thing, like a business deal.
Didn't she fucking love somebody else? Like there was like somebody else she wanted
towards
to like.
the end, she'll end up. I think the vibe I got was that she and Theo, one of Cal's brothers, are kind of vibing. Is what I got from it.
They had been vibing though. I thought that was like, wasn't Ivy like kind of like hanging out so that she could like.
No, she'll notice it when they meet in the safe house. Like Theo made some commitments to her or whatever.
I think I must have misunderstood something.
But I'm not positive that they're actually together at this point. All I know is that she'll end up calling off that engagement with Nick. But Ivy's like, why would you ever marry someone for anything other than love? Because you completely give up your agency in the society where once you're married, the man does everything for you type of situation. Like you're no longer able to represent yourself type of thing. So she's like, why would you ever marry for anything but love at this point?
Because it's the patriarchy and you're trying to keep in like, you know, you're
trying to benefit your family and everything.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, or some sort of, I don't know I obviously don't know the king and queen toll, like some sort of something in the mix that you're supposed to marry another family member. I went to try to say something and I was like, I don't even remember. So Prince Charles's wife, it was not actually a princess. She was something else. So she's not considered a princess. My mom was trying to explain this to me one time and I was like, but she married the prince. Don't you get to be the princess? Like, I was like, this is fucked up. But no, she said that they don't. They become something else.
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah, so she's not really a princess. She's a, I don't remember. I almost have to Google it to like, but like they don't become princesses if they don't marry. If you're not already a princess, you just become some, I'm like a servant girl. My brain's stuck. Like,
it's like reverse Cinderella.
Yeah.
You married the prince. Now you are a servant. So the next morning they leave at dawn. This is Captain Murphy's favorite time to travel.
Literally fucking irritated me. I am an early riser and love, but like, he's like adamant. We went to bed at midnight. It doesn't matter. Get up at dawn.
Get up at dawn.
Dawn is in 3 hours.
But they end up going through the Godswood. Okay, which woods did you have a problem with the name of?
Godswood.
Oh, you didn't like Godswood?
Lazy writing.
I didn't think it was that
so
lazy.
Fucking mad.
I was looking at the map last night when I was making the whole thing, and I was like, you know what? I kind of love how she named everything. Was like just like all jewel references, the Bay of Jewels. Like I don't know. I thought
no. I literally was like, God damn it, Katie. You two been communicating. Katie's like, Bacon Lazy Woods. Lazy. Don't come up with any good name. You did all of this hard work. And then you were just like, the Godswood.
Lindsey, if you're watching.
This is like Katie going, and then here is my woods.
Lindsey, if you're watching this, I want you to know I named something the Enchanted Woods, so it's much worse than Godswood
literally
ever would be.
Was like, fuck no.
I don't
change
mind
the goddamn name.
I don't hate
it. I just feel like both of you guys did the exact same thing. All this fucking huge, overly worked, all of these names were fucking thought of, and then you were like, Woods. I don't fucking know. Godswood. Enchanted Woods. I just feel like it was just like, I came up with all these cool fucking names. I went through like a deep dive, and then it was like, I need to name the woods. Into the Enchanted Forest we go. Like, just like, come on, guys. I don't know. That was my only fucking thing. I was literally thinking that too. I was like, Katie's going to hate me, but fuck it. I'm going to do it anyways. Because seriously, I'm telling you, you read Katie's book, she goes into all this in-depth shit. Every fucking name is thought out and has probably definitions to it. And then it's Enchanted Woods.
Enchanted Woods.
Enchanted Woods.
Yeah. I'll never live down Enchanted Woods. And it's not even like good. Like if you were like, if I was audio read it, it'd be like Enchanted Woods. Be like, and then Bastion was doing all these fun things. Enchanted Woods. Anyway, so they're in the Godswoods, and then they encounter a bear. And this is the first time that Cal will call her a princess. He's like explains that she lives in a tower, and he says that's some princess shit. But Cal actually knows the truth of who she is. And again, he hasn't told her his name is Cal yet, but he He knows that she's a
dying
princess.
at the bear, by the way. I was cracking up. I was like, do we encounter the man or do we encounter the bear?
Well, she like whips out her sword and he's looking at her like, how are you going to kill a bear? And she's like, yeah, you're right. You're more likely to kill a bear. So then she's like, wait a second. And like 2 little cubs walk by. And then while he's distracted, she grows some berries on a bush for them and the cubs. She's like, go on and eat. And he's like, that's some princess shit, you know? So this is kind of a double meaning because she is the princess of the Underrealm.
She is the princess.
So they stop at their first inn, and Ivy ends up sending a missive to the Topaz heir, Silas Wilson, after she has a convo with Captain Murphy, after she said she won't bow to someone who doesn't deserve it. And then he takes the piece of paper out of his breast pocket and says, make them deserve it then. Cal does this a few different times, and especially when Anthony Palmini reads shit like this.
Oh my God.
Just like,
when he reads it, you're like, yes, Daddy.
I'm like,
I'm on my way, whatever.
Support me as a strong, independent woman, Anthony Palmini.
Support me. Hold me up from my butt cheek. You know, he's over there like holding her up.
Ivy and the captain both hate General Marks, and this is a fantastic thing. Ivy says at this point he wants worshipers, not subjects. And I'm like, yes, bitch, because he's Miss Caius.
You should no idea how many fucking exclamation marks around this. She said that with not enough enthusiasm. If you were to read it, should have been a lot louder and a lot more like intense.
Stars like these fucking outlines are unhinged. This one's especially unhinged because I was just like, oh my God. There was literally a point where, so I'm doing this. I'm making this outline.
Literally, oh my God. He says, you have no idea, princess. That's how unhinged this fucking outline is. I'm just letting you know that's how unhinged it is. That it literally read one fucking line and Katie's mind would say, and she read the line.
It was 1:00 in the morning. I want to say I was doing this
Katie
outline.
was caffeinated.
And my office is right next. Like the other side of that wall is my daughter's room. She's 2.
Yeah. She wakes up to, why is Mommy screaming?
I literally was in my office. I was silent screaming so bad that I actually went, ah! And I just like held my hand over my mouth like, oh my God, I actually just out loud screamed. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me right now? I
Katie
love this
needs more
shit.
friends. Her books are not doing it for her.
My books are doing just fine because I'm screaming in all caps in my outlines. Yeah, she says he wants worshipers, not subjects. And he says, you have no idea, princess. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. No, she doesn't yet. And then she says, rumor says you worship the dark god. Do you have any love for death? And then the captain says, do you? If we're believing rumors, you're his creature too. I'm dead. So this is, I'm just like, yes, she is.
What's the @ symbol?
I hit an exclamation and then an @ on accident.
This is what happens when you do outlines at 1:00 in the morning.
If you do outlines at 1:00 in the morning and every little thing is like, holy shit, foreshadowing. And the captain says maybe one day he'll let Ivy know what his real name is because she's like, will you even tell me your name? He's like, maybe one day.
She does it so much better in the book. Don't let
God.
Katie like.
I ruin it.
Don't let Katie ruin that at all.
Listen to the audiobook of this. It's fan-fucking-tastic. So Captain Murphy later he goes for a swim because she ends up making a comment that she meditates sometimes. And he's like, oh, like I like swimming. Like that's the same kind of thing. He goes for a swim, and while she's unsaddling her horse, she like meditates in the woods. And then Ivy ogles him as he steps into the water.
Yeah. She ogles him. She
like,
ogles that fucking thing that baby's arm with and holding an apple down to his fucking kneecap.
I think he had his pants on technically during this time.
Come on, tell me you wrote that better than that. Lie to me. They're always hung like fucking horses.
Oh, he's hung like a horse, but it doesn't mean that she sees it right now.
Well, why else would she be ogling him?
Because
I'm telling
he's
you.
bare-chested.
My fucking thought was that fucker was just like, he was limp and it was still down to his kneecap, okay?
I don't think it was his dick this time. I think
it was just like down to his fucking toes when he was hard. Like, she was literally feeling it. She was like, it's touching me and I'm not even near him. 5 feet away. He's like 5 feet away and it's fucking over here. It's like a snake slithering through the fucking grass. I swear to God, I pictured it so bad. I was like, I 100% was like, he's getting in there naked. You know, the ass is just perfectly formed and you're just over there like.
He has to like climb a ladder.
Just to dive in so his dick doesn't touch the ground. So when he dives into the water and he's not touching the bottom of the lake.
Oh my God, no, he does. She doesn't even see his dick at this point.
I'm telling you, that's not how I was
if she had seen his dick at this point, she would have seen the Ivy tattooed on the sign. She doesn't see that yet.
I know, but I was still, girl, I was still like, that's what my brain was like. Yeah, get it, girl, get it. And that fucker's like literally like diving in the water and he's just standing upright.
There are multiple times that are not sex in this book that I'm just like, hell yeah, Cal.
I'm not gonna lie. There's multiple times where I was like, I like this book. I was like, cool. I was putting in my own sex scenes. I was like, what are you doing? You don't like reading all this fucking smut and you're over here putting in your own fucking scenes. Yeah, there was a couple times where I was like, oh, there's a scene right there. Oh, no, there's not a scene. All right, well, I put it in there anyways.
This book took me by surprise by how much I was like, ooh, well, yes, I like that. Anyway, so she's checking him out, and then he sees the tattoo of the sea beast on his chest. And Ivy sees that and is like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So she races into the forest, and then she sees an owl which is the symbol of Nobis, and she starts sobbing when she realizes that he has onyx hair, and she's like, he's gonna lead me to the burning amethyst throne and I'm gonna die. He's leading me to my death. And she's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You're not gonna be here for me, but you're gonna fucking send me off like this? Cool, thanks.
Is that kind of like what her mother did, though?
Yeah. So then Ivy returns, and he tries to show her how to gut a fish. So he's like, what is that movie with Patrick Swayze with a ghost with the pottery? He like does that, but with gutting fish.
Which is not sexy.
And then Ivy feels her magic tingle all throughout her body.
Oh, yeah,
when he's pressed up against her. Because
I'm going to tell you, though, like, I was like, in sex scene. Oh, there's not a sex scene. Like, so I was like, I feel a sex scene.
His mark of the sea beast, his tattoo of the sea beast is pressed up against her back where she has the scar from the sea beast Arcasia. So that's like, not only is his proximity, every time he's near her, she has like this magic is like her, she can feel her magic interacting with him, being like,
that's
go
what
for
she
it, girl.
Feels. That's what she feels.
She's like,
her boobs aren't fucking like, ding.
I think it's a little bit of both. And she's enveloped by his smell and gets lost in him. He smells like salinity. So he has like a little bit of kind of his heritage in that, and from the sea beast. And leather, and she gets lost in him for a while.
Just my brain went to like dark things.
She gets kind of lost in it for a moment, and then she jumps and is like, "What the fuck am I doing?" And jumps out of it.
Kind of lost for a minute.
She's like, "Ooh, I like this," and then she cuts herself, jumping out of his hold, and then he ends up taking care of her wound, and then she feels another rush of magic, and this is Arcasia's magic that she's feeling, because the goddess of protection that is flowing through his veins. And when she looks into his eyes, she knows that she's not the only magic wielder at this point.
You didn't see the fucking thing on his back that like literally gave it away.
And then he ends up telling her the story of the Avis, who are elemental magic wielders in this world, and they're known to have a mark, which is this crescent moon, and she has it on her wrist. She notices Cal has it, and we'll later see that Kieran has it as well. And then they're kind of like staring into each other's eyes, and there's tension, and then it starts raining, and then she goes into her tent. And then the next day, Captain Murphy uses his water magic to save her when she has to bail from a horse, because there's like a thunder and lightning storm going on, and then one of these branches is going to crash, and she can't get her horse to move, so she bails, and instead of hitting the mud like she expects, there's like a rush of water that catches her, and she doesn't notice this at the time, or she doesn't even reference it that this was Cal's magic, because she doesn't, like, she knows he has magic, but she doesn't know what kind of magic yet. But this is definitely Cal catching her with the water magic, even though it's not explicitly said on the page. They arrive in Ida. There's only one room available, but Ivy is sleeping in it. So Captain Murphy gets to sleep in a cot in the closet, and she does in a broom closet, and she ends up actually offering to put his cot in front of the fireplace if there's room. And he's like, I don't want your pity. And then he ends up backing her into the door. They get all lusty. And then she asks for his name, and then he ends up stepping away, and while he like turns and looks over his shoulder, and he says, his name's Callan, but she can call him Cal. His real name is Kaladin.
I just love how you were like, have you got his name yet? Have you got his name yet? I was dying. I was like, oh my God.
I was like, it's happening. And then Cal, she realizes this is the name she yells in her nightmares. It's the name her soul knows. Did I write that in all caps in this outline? Yes, I did.
I mean, I already knew that, but like, even though I was reading it for the third time, I was like, this is so gross.
I love it. So they end up
Kitty loves all of that romancy shit.
This is like everything I've ever dreamed of. She ends up leaving the bathing chamber and he's walking towards it, or vice versa. I can't remember. But they're both in their towels and they run into each other in the hallway. And then that's when Cal sees her tattoo on her back, because she got a tattoo of Godsbane over the top of the scar that the sea beast left. And this is her mother's favorite flower. And it's over the mark that Cal's mom left her. So I just think that's really cool. That's like their two mothers, like protection over her. Sorry. So the next morning, a message arrives from Cal that says the trees are down on the road and they won't be traveling that day. So Ivy's like, okay, there's going to be people that need help. I'm going to dress in like plain. So in the Emerald region, if you're like in the royal like governor group and you're in the council and the lords and stuff, you wear emerald, and it's the same with all the different regions. So in Ruby they wear red and blah blah blah. So but amethyst specifically is saved for people who are the actual royalty, so the king and the queen and their family. But all the other people throughout all of Corinth will wear brown. That's like the typical. And the only person that wears black is Cal. That's just his color.
That's just his color.
It's just his color. He looks
his shade, because it's not technically a fucking color.
Thank you, Lindsey Richardson, for having character art on your TikTok page, because I'm like, hell yeah. So then Ivy dresses in brown common folk clothes, and then she uses that to go help the town clean up. And then she ends up, I was stoked when this is the scream I screamed. Scream I screamed. When she runs into a woman whose eyes change from blue to purple, who asks if she has no love for the gods, because there's like a bunch of like people being like, thank you, Nobis, for saving us, and blah, blah, blah. This Ivy realizes that she's having the truth pulled from her, and she kind of senses some magic. And on the first read, this is like, okay, this woman's kind of weird, right? But after reading God's Deathsbane, I'm like, holy shit, this is Tora, the goddess of truth, and the one who helps Selene escape with Cal. I'm dead. So
she actually didn't write "I'm dead" for the first time.
I did write "I'm dead" right afterwards.
Oh, I didn't see it.
So this woman says,
you wrote it in all caps with the rest of the fucking statement.
Just a run-on sentence. This woman says that Nobis has no love for them, and that Draca approaches, which Draca is the goddess of war, and also Draven's brother or Draven's sister, and Draven is her dad. So Draca is Ivy's aunt. And she says
the way you told it to me was as if I didn't know this. I just love the way you explained it. You were like, and did you know? Did you not read the book? Because I'm totally telling you right now.
I'm like, this family tree is incredible.
I just felt like I was like, I read the book, I promise. So it was the way you told it to me, though. You like literally made eye contact like you're an idiot. I just need you to know.
Oh my God. So I'm just so excited about talking about this book.
No, I'm not fucking hating it. I just love the way you did that. You were just like, and did you know?
I'm like,
put that correlation together.
You've read this book as much as I have, but did you realize? And she says the one to unite us rises as foretold. And then she tells Ivy to trust the power that guides her to save the people she loves, or death will keep her. So she's getting this like prophecy told to her, and she's like, this lady's kind of weird. And then she walks up back to Cal, and Cal's like, who was that? And she's like, I don't fucking know. But the only reason I recognized it this time around after reading Deathsbane was because Tora had the violet eyes, and that's like a unique thing for the gods to have. And she was like a seer. She was called a seer in this realm, and she could like see the future, but it was always, there were different paths. It was never straightforward. And it in Deathsbane, what she saw in the future morphed over time, and it changed once when Selene was pregnant. So that like altered the future that was going to happen with the prince of the gods and everything. So they go back to the tavern, and then Ivy. So first of all, she's like, I'm going to go riding. And he's like, you're not going anywhere by yourself. And she's like, give me your sword then, and I'll be fine. And he's like, okay. So then he gives her sword, and she goes off riding for like an hour, I think is what she said. And then when she gets back, Cal's like, where the fuck were you? And she's like, here's your sword back. Fuck you. And then she starts drinking.
Here's your sword back. Fuck you.
And he's like, I will. And she talks with a woman. She looks across the room, and there's this like busty redhead talking to him. And she's like, fuck you. Now she's jealous. And then she ends up joining a table of men for a drinking game. And then she ends up dancing with one of the guys. I think his name's Garrett. And while they're dancing, he leans down to try to kiss her. And then Cal intervenes and is like, don't fucking touch her. And then he presses her up against a wall again. He does this quite a lot. And then he's like, just admit you want to fuck me. I'm like, yes. Yes, Cal. And he says she's important to him and tries to get her to say his name. And then she's like, the only thing we are together is death, because she's like, you are leading me to my death. There's no way that this has any positive outcome for us. And then he says he's not scared of shadows and is well acquainted with death. And then she asks, what about poison? And he says, I've been waiting a long time to be poisoned by you, Ivy.
I'm like, ugh.
I love Anthony Palmini saying this. I'm just like, yes. And then she whispers his name. He cups her throat, and then he steps away because he's like, you're too drunk. You need to go to bed.
Oh. But you have to understand when Anthony Palmini does it, you're just like, what? Hold on. You were just choking me. Everything in my body is wet right now. Like, just.
And then what he says after this is, when you kiss me, princess, it won't be because you're drunk. It will be because you can't imagine living one more second of your life without knowing how I taste.
Like, you need his audio for this.
You really do. Thank you.
Because without his audio, it's not as good. It's just the way he does it. You're just like, I don't know. God. I'm definitely not an Anthony girl at all. I'm definitely a Teddy girl, but
something about Cal though just did it.
Just something about it that was just like, it wasn't his normal gravelly voice. It was that.
No,
like,
it was like it wasn't the like deep like kingfishery voice.
Yeah,
it was something else, and I was like, damn, this is like.
I felt like he was like, let me give you a good performance, honey, since you're an indie author and you need to like.
He came through, man. Lindsey Richardson getting Anthony Palmini to do this is like, she teased it, and I was like, I need this audiobook now. Like, when does it release?
You have no idea. I was literally wondering if Katie was going to mention it, and I was like, I'll just leave it alone.
Well, because I wanted to wait to cover this until we were able to do the audiobook and the ebook. And I did ebook, and I bought her book, and I also bought it on audio. I am
we
all over this
that
book.
Woman.
Yes, indie author support. But I wanted to be able, because you primarily listen to audiobooks, so not that you couldn't read the book, but I wanted to have like, I like having two versions of it before I go and talk about it. So when I was like waiting for the audiobook to come out before we cover this, and then once it did, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So Ivy's hungover the next morning, and he's like, I don't slow down because you're hungover. Like, we have to keep moving. She's super frustrated, and she's starting to acknowledge this connection she has with Cal, and that the gods have clearly tied them together for some sort of fate, and she believes it's for her death. And then Cal agrees that he'll answer one question for every half hour, but she loses the question every time she pukes.
I fucking loved it. I thought this was great. But I was like, you deserve it because you fucking were drinking.
Yeah.
And you know he's a crack of dawn fucking guy.
Yeah.
He's like, the sun's out. We need to be on the road.
And they already had like one extra day to chill. So she's just like, he's like, you're throwing up whiskey all over the place in the stables. And he's like, we literally have to go. Like, we can't just sit here all day while you puke your guts out. And so she's like, well, how many questions do I get? He's like, you get 4. And then she only gets one question. She asks how old he is, and he says he's 28. And then she pukes the rest of the journey. He does mention something about his brother, and she's like, oh, how many brothers do you have? Or how many siblings do you have? And he's like, you don't get another question yet. You have another like 28 minutes. She's like, fuck off. So she doesn't find that out until later. They make it their way into the Ruby region. Which is like, if you're looking at the map, there's like, it's the Emerald region, and then like north of them is the Ruby region. And they've been traveling through the God's Wood. So they make camp there, and Ivy comes back from collecting firewood to find Cal talking to 2 men who they all pull their swords out. That sounds so much worse when you say it that way. But she has her daggers out at them.
I like didn't catch it because I was like, yeah, I remember this scene. And then I was like, oh, I guess it does sound kind of terrible.
When you say it that way, it doesn't work that well. But they like pull weapons on each other. And then Cal's like, okay, put your weapons down. And then she's like, I'll put my weapons down. When they pull their weapons down, and then he's like, she has a point, you guys, like, put your weapons down. And she finds out that these are Cal's brothers. The first one is Henry. He's kind of the more like chill, I think he's the oldest, older brother. And he is like, he plays a flute, and he's in love with the twin sister of the heir of the Sapphire region, Marianne. And Marianne is betrothed to one of the other heirs, I believe. And then Theo, who's like a super shameless flirt, and is like gets on Cal's nerves all the time because of how he talks to Ivy. And Henry's always like smacking him upside the back of the head because he just like won't shut up. And Theo makes fun of him for playing his flute, and he's like, "Could you stop fucking playing the flute every night?" At one point, he like goes to throw it in the fire, and he like dives down to go catch it. I think it's Marianne's flute that he borrowed or whatever. And Ivy does notice they don't look alike. And it's like, yeah, because Cal is not related to them. She doesn't know that, but still, she's like looking at them like, they do not look like they're brothers at all. The next day, she kind of like gets to know them and stuff that night. And then the next day, the brothers head off. They're going to go back on the road. But the brothers are catching a boat in the Bay of Jewels, and they're going to go to the Sapphire region, it sounds like. And she's like, oh, maybe she's going to go see Marianne. But there's not really like a clear cut what they're doing at this point. And they get back on the road, she and Cal, and then they stop for a moment, but something feels off. So Cal's like, okay, take a second to stretch your legs, but like it feels weird here. I'm going to go get our canteens filled, but we got to get back going. And then she's kind of standing there and she's like, well, maybe I'll release some magic or something. And then before she can do anything, there's a hand that clasps over her face. And this is a deliverer who's dressed in the sigil of Draca, who is the goddess of war, and attacks her. And then she fights back, and then he ends up trying to rape her. She like drives two of her daggers into his sides and gets him. And she is like ready to unleash the negative part of her magic, or the death side of her magic at this point, to just completely destroy him, when she looks up and see Cal has him by the throat at this point. And
no, but I was like, stab him again. Like, I couldn't fucking believe that. Like, I don't know. You have no idea. I was like, reading this scene was making me like cringe. Mm-hmm. Like, because doesn't it take her a second? Like, she's trying to reach her knives. Like, it doesn't just happen. She's like being like pressed down, and she's like trying to reach them.
Yeah, so he's struggling to get his belt undone because he has a sword in one hand, and then he's trying to get his belt undone with the other one to rape her. And then she reaches into her corset and pulls out the two knives and then drives them.
It was like just not like, I don't know. Everything in me was like, don't you fucking do it. Like, I remember reading this.
That fight or flight was there for sure.
It was bad, dude. For me, I was like, I don't fucking know. I was like, stab him again.
But what I like about this is that she gets up and she's like, this is
both
my
kidneys.
Yes. She's like, this is my kill to Cal. And he's like, do whatever you want, bitch. I would love to watch you do this. He's like, this is the hottest thing ever. It's like watching you do this. So she ends up killing him, and then she like falls into Cal and cries into his arms, and then he's like, I'm going to dispose of the body. She's like, no, I want to do it. She's like, I just need to. She releases her magic and uses some of the darkness in her to like dig a hole, put his body in, and then she covers the body with life. And that's then it's just completely spent after this. And this is when we get our one horse trope, because she's too tired to ride a horse. So then she gets to sleep on him while they ride. And then
I don't like riding horses, but I don't fucking understand this. You can just like.
There's so many books that they fall asleep, but I'm guessing, I mean, it has to be a thing that's happened in history, right?
Do you like go in front and like lean in on them? Like, I need a picture drawn. Are you laying on him and holding him, falling asleep this way, like head to head?
No, so Cal has his arm around her and she falls asleep, like leaning against his
all
chest.
Of this. No. You're in front of him, he's fucking holding you, and you're sleeping. No, because I need to be laying like back, right? And then my thought was, okay, then you could be laying on his back, but then you have to remember to hold on while you're fucking sleeping. And then you're like, oh, I fell asleep and fell off. Then my other thought was, okay, because I have to lean back, I could lean face to face, so we could be like this.
It could just be what they did with Carrion and Quicksilver, where they just threw him over the back of the horse.
No, because you're just on the back like this. Like there's nothing fucking like you're just right on where the actual butt goes up and down. Like
I think for these people, they're so exhausted or so spent from using their magic or from not sleeping for days.
So then fucking lay them on the ground and let them sleep like a normal fucking human. Why are we still traveling?
They have to get out of there because there's more deliverers.
Oh my God.
They're all like he was a scout. So.
Come with me, baby.
So they end up camping that night, and then Ivy witnesses Cal having a nightmare and him calling her name, and she ends up saying, "I'm right here, Cal." And I was just like, oh. She has a very, very hard exterior. And so when she gets these little moments where she kind of lets herself be like a little bit softer, I really like it. Ivy asked Cal for training, and because she was like, okay, obviously you have magic. It's very obvious to me. You know I have magic. Like you explained we're Avis. Like I need to learn how to do this because clearly I'm overexpending myself every time I try to do this. And they are on their way to Gath, or Gath. I don't remember if I'm pronouncing that properly. Which is the capital of the Ruby region. They're sparring in a clearing, and this is one of my favorite parts of this book. I remember telling you at work, I'm like, I have to talk talk about this part of the book. He tells her to disarm, and she's like, okay. So she like disarms, but she's like, she has weapons in her corset, and so she ends up like walking away all sexily, and then she turns around and throws one of the daggers from her corset, and then pins him with a blade, and then he ends up flipping her, pinning her arms above her head, and then with his teeth pulls the last dagger that's like in between her breasts and her corset. And I was just like, ooh, that is hotter than most of the stuff in this book. Just that one thing with his teeth and the dagger, I was just like, oh, hot damn. Especially with it being explained with Anthony Pomini in it. But I was just like, okay. And then he tells her to yield. And then she said, I yield to no man. And he said, and you never fucking will, princess. I'm like, I love that.
Katie's over here like, ooh.
I am so into Cal. It's not even funny. Like, he's moved his way up into one of my favorite romantasy book boyfriends just because he just like, out of like, there's a lot of them that are like, I'm a grumpy man and but in the background, I want to worship you. This guy is just outright like, I fucking worship the ground you walk on from the moment they meet. And I kind of love that. I'm like, I like not having the like, he's a little broody, but I like not having the like whole broody, like we have to get their relationship type thing. She's the broody one in this relationship. In all reality, they make it to the capital of the Ruby region, and then we learn that the people in the Sapphire region actually had fled to Ruby during the Sinalian? I can't remember how it was pronounced, invasion. Ivy saves a cat in the stables, and at this point, Cal's like, why do you have a cat? Like, it's not like she keeps the cat. She's like, I hate cats, but I couldn't like let it die and not get fed, right? And then this is when they share a room at the inn. And this is when they fuck, finally.
I like bang, ruined, bang. Fuck me, bang. Star should love her dominance. She asked for the whole story. Bang, bang. Star should love her dominance. I just sometimes reading your I'm enjoying your outline because I know where you're going with it, but what the fuck? She literally wrote, Star should love her dominance. First of all, I did. Second of all, I was going to talk about it, but she fucking wrote it down. And I was like hardcore, like, get it, girl. I was like, step on him with your high heel boot and tell him to lick your feet clean.
I was literally like, I was listening to this. So first of all, he like rips her corset apart, and I'm just like, yes, Cal. And then she says, he is basically like, you need to tell me what you want. And that's when she's like, fuck me. And I'm like, yes. And then they bang. And then that's when she bangs. She bangs.
Oh my God.
And then that's afterwards she asks for, the whole story of everything of like why they're connected.
After you've come, I can ask you now.
Basically, he's like, okay, she's like, I need all the whole story, and so he explains everything. The next morning, a missive arrives from Rollins, and this is the governor of the Ruby region. Before they're gonna leave, he's like, she's just standing there naked, and he's like, you need to put clothes on, or I'm gonna fuck you on that desk. And she's like, oh, this desk, this desk right here. And then they fuck and they break the desk, of course.
It's like the chair scene all over again.
It's like every sex scene in Fourth Wing, the first book.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the chair scene all over.
But they don't break the chair.
No.
But they break her a lot of things. Fourth Wing. Set everything on fire.
What the fuck?
Break it.
What did you send me earlier that was like, wasn't there lightning? Like he says that, I'm just staring at him like, did you read the book? Like half the book is her fucking lightning going off.
Oh yeah, where they were like, oh yeah, wasn't there? Yeah, it was the off-campus guys were getting interviewed about smut in books, and they were like, oh yeah, Fourth Wing was really good. Wasn't there lightning? And I was like, how would you not remember that? If you read the books, you definitely know there's fucking lightning.
It's like you fucking are just like me, and you're just like, I vibed. The book was good. We vibed with it. I felt emotions.
I was like, any interview I can get with Steven, the guy who plays Dean, I'm like, yes, more. My poor husband's like, can you stop obsessing over fictional men? I was like, but he's blonde.
Calm down, you're a blonde man.
Calm down, you're a blonde man.
That's going to be like every episode for like the next 20 episodes. Calm down, you're a blonde man.
So they end up in the Ruby Mansion. And we didn't talk about this, but earlier, Ivy had told this story about her with the Ruby region heir, who's Kieran, who they had gotten drunk together, and he'd actually poisoned her and she woke up all bloodied and like beat up. And she was like, I don't trust this guy. He took advantage of me. And so she tells that story to Cal. And he was like, well, did you ever do anything about that? And she was like, I couldn't tell my father because the next day was the vote for women's education or girls' education. So I couldn't tell him and take away the limelight from that. So she never told anybody what happened with Kieran, except for Cal knows now. So she's like, I don't want to go there. The Ruby governor hates me, and also I hate Kieran. So like nothing is good that's going to happen from this. But this is the point I want to make when they're in the Ruby mansion. Multiple times throughout this story, Ivy notices shadows in her periphery, and then her magic hums whenever they're near. So part of this is that she does kind of have her own like shadow magic from the god of death. But also I think this might be Draven checking up on her, because we did see in Deathsbane, he kind of mentions how like when he is able to go to that realm, he kind of like checks and sees where she's at, because Celine can't anymore because she's dead. So she's stuck in the underrealm. But when he goes to collect souls, if they're anywhere near her, then he can kind of like see how she's doing. So I think part of when she's seeing these shadows and her magic's humming, I think there's times when it's like her emotionally reacting and having some shadows come out. But I think there's also times when it's Draven there like supporting her. They also find out not only does she have to go to this fucking Ruby mansion, Lord General Marks is in town and they're going to throw a ball. And then Kieran's like, I set aside some dresses for you in the color you should be in because we're going to get married and you're going to wear red. And she's like, fuck you. So she looks in the armoire, and not only, so they had laid out a ruby dress for her. She looks in the armoire. There's literally the color of every single region dress in there. And she's like, what are you playing at, dude? Like, and so she looks in the very back and she finds amethyst. And she's like, you know what?
Such a fucking cool color.
Let's make a fucking statement. So she puts an amethyst gown on. Cal gives her not only a god's blade, which we learn about. Each of the gods have a god blade, and they are the only thing other than the god of death that can kill a god. We see Celine will take her and Arcasia's blades with her. And so Cal has Arcasia's blade. And then we'll see that Kieran also has a god blade as well later on. He gives her the god blade for protection, and she ends up wearing it on her thigh. And then he also gives her his mother's brooch, which is the sea beast emblem. So it's like another mark of protection for her when she's going into this dangerous situation she's going to be in. She ends up finding out from Marks when she's alone in the courtyard, her father died, and that she's now the new governor of Emerald. And then Marks ends up demonstrating his ability to wield fire, and he kind of chokes the air in her lungs a little bit to scare her, and shows that he is a magic wielder. At this point, she just believes he's Avis. She doesn't know he's a god. And then Cal and Ivy kiss in the courtyard. This is kind of their like last solidifying moment where they're like, yes, we're together right now. Let's go figure out what we're doing. And he's like, I need to go get information. And then we're going to let Marks go ahead one day before we head off to the Ascension vote together. And then Ivy, and they find out that Kieran had rode off with Marks too. So that's important because Ivy's like, okay, while I have a day here, I'm going to go and investigate. So she goes into Kieran's room and she ends up finding a letter from his mother detailing that he needs to find someone to help defeat Machias. And that this explains that the sea beast is Arcasia. It also has like a whole like lost fable explaining what happened with the gods and their rebellion against Nobis and how they were all exiled and everything. And this is part of where we find out that each of the female goddesses or the goddesses that got pushed here, they all went and they teamed up with, or they like married the people who were going to be the governors, the men who were going to be the governors here, to make all of the heirs Avis, or demigods at the very least. She finds the ivy-hilted dagger that falls out of the bag, and she's like, why did he steal this from me? And then she finds out he didn't steal it. It's actually like another one. And then while they're there, Marks marches on Emerald. He sends some of his military to march on Emerald. Lord Yarrow promises Marks troops for his invasion, which is planned for Topaz because it's the last swing vote. Yes. And then Cal admits to her finally that he can wield air, water, air, and fire. So he can wield three elements. She thinks that she's like less powerful than him because she can only wield one. But Ivy's the only one that can wield the earth. And I think this is probably because she's the product of light and death. So she can bring both life and death because of her parents' powers. So I think that's why she's the only one that can wield the earth.
Can't she wield Cal's magic when she's with him?
she can wield that, and that's
Isn't she
unique.
the only one that can do that though? Because I wasn't sure if I understood that correctly, but that's what I thought happened. Because I thought she took somebody's power unintentionally.
So this is going to happen actually pretty soon. So
Sorry,
No,
I'm
you're
like super ahead of it. Like,
No, you're good.
my brain was
You're
like,
not
wait,
very
I don't
ahead
know where
of
the
it.
hell I'm at. Like,
it's going to happen here in a little bit. So they're leaving the Ruby region for Amelie. Ivy needs to release her magic, and then Cal kind of helps train her to hone her magic. During that training, she finds out that she can tap into Cal's magic.
okay, see, I thought that's happened. I thought it happened when she found out that he had all three, though.
No, so she was saying
I thought she touched his magic and was like, "You have all three." I don't know why. That's how my brain remembers
so he had
it.
told her, and then what happened was he was like, shake the ground, and then she was like shaking the tree, and he's like shake. She ended up shaking the leaves, and he's like, no, shake the roots of the tree. And then she shook the branches. He's like, no, the tree itself, like go into the roots and shake the earth. That's what you're capable of. And so she kind of like meditates down into herself and grounds herself. And while she's doing that, she realizes her magic wants to reach further, and she reaches out and she can sense his power, and she reaches in and is able to detect his. She realizes pretty quickly that there is no bottom to his power. It's kind of like Aelin in Throne of Glass, right?
Yeah,
There's
and
no.
I thought about it, and I was like, I'm just not gonna like.
Lindsey Richardson does say that there's influence from Throne of Glass for this book. Not to say I'm not saying she stole it or anything like that, but it's interesting
It would
to
be
see
impossible because every book we read has got so many different like.
Oh yeah,
it would be impossible for her. Like she was at least being honest. Like
no, and it's not the
too
only
many goddamn books where
it's also
you're
not the only book where someone has limitless power. But
true, which is what I'm saying. Like
yeah, so she this is when she taps into Cal's power, and then this is when Ivy asks what they are, and he says we're gods. And this is where we kind of get the Deathsbane lore of yes, so everybody will later learn that all of the heirs are demigods because of how the goddesses came and married all the governors, but the only true full gods that they know of that are in this fight right now are Machias, Cal, and Ivy. Cal is Nobis and Arcasia's son, so he is the prince of the gods, and she is the goddess of light and death. Then they fuck in the woods, and then Cal. We think this is the first time that Ivy mentions.
Remark, and then I was like, leave it alone. That's why I flipped the page. I was like.
I think this is the first time that Ivy mentions that he has Ivy tattooed on his thigh. He had noticed her a few years back. She was protesting on the palace steps about like, some of the wars and stuff, and he was like drawn to her, and he's always felt like a tie to her because Ivy is the name that he always calls out in his dreams. So he was like, okay, there's clearly a tie here, and she's having trouble like accepting that they could be together because she feels like she's just going to die, and what's the point? And she needs to sacrifice herself for everybody else. Cal ends up leaving to secure passage to Amelie, and Ivy hides in the shadows where she's going to be approached by Kieran. So the idea was that she needs to pretend that she's like this whore that he hired. So that's the why he has a traveling companion. It can't be known that she's there because the whole idea was that Marks told her that her father died. He was trying to get her to leave and go back to Emerald instead of going to the vote.
What are you going to do? Go back and be like, I'm burying my dad. Like, we need to take care of the vote first.
Well, and Marks had said, I already announced your engagement to Kieran, and he's going to be your vote at the Ascension vote. And she's like, no, that's not how that works. Kieran runs into her, and then she finds out he's the informant. And she's like, he's like, Cal didn't tell you? And she's, no, Cal didn't fucking tell me that you're the one that he was talking to. Turns out he poisoned his father. He loves poison. And he's now traveling with them. And she's like, oh, this is just wonderful information. I'm so glad to learn all of this from you, Kieran. Cal is being watched too closely. So they get on the ship, and they have like that night before where she's like, sorry, I keep kicking you. Where Cal has the night before where they're like making out, and she's like, you need to tell me all of the information tomorrow after I can stop pretending that I'm like your whore here and putting on a show. And he's like, yeah, I'll tell you everything. So he's being watched on the ship too closely, so he can't use his power of wind to push everything. And we kind of learned while she was training with Cal that wind is the one thing that she's not really able to access. She was able to hit the fire and the water, but the wind is just not working. And so he's like, I need you and Kieran to do it. And then we find out then that not only can Ivy tap into someone else's power, she can also force hers into someone else because she's trying to use Kieran's power.
Weird, like, Because he was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because she's trying to use Kieran's power. And I love that this is like the argument they keep having because she's like, he has like no power. And he's like, fuck off. I have plenty of power. Okay.
Yes.
And she's like, not enough. Just lightly blowing in the wind.
She's like, I need you to make the boat move. He was like, I did.
He's like, yeah, he's just standing next to the sail, just blowing into it. She's like, not what I meant. And so this is a big deal because if it's ever found out that Ivy can do this, Marks could totally use this against her.
Yes.
Like 100%. He could like kidnap her and then force her to use her power with him. This is when Kieran reveals that there's been a coup and that all of the governors are now dead and the heirs are all taking over and they're all Avis or demigods. And the only full votes in the, or full god votes in the council or in the Ascension vote now are Ivy and Marks. And then Cal tells the story of a prophecy and then how Selene made a deal for a way home. So we know from Deathsbane that Arcasia made the deal with the with Selene and the god of death that she would take Cal and bring him to a different world to be safe from his father because at some point Nobis is going to try to kill his son because his son is a threat to him with how much power he has.
Yes.
And so what Selene does is she knows she's going to do that. And before everything happens, she goes to Nobis and she barters for a way home because she knows they're going to get exiled. So she's like, if you give me a way to come back, I will make sure your son is able to come back and to open the gate. We'll later find out that the way to open the gate is with Ivy's blood. So Selene's daughter is able to open the gate. And that's how he would be able to potentially get back through. And Marks is basically taking all of this time, and why he had wanted the Sinalians to be involved in everything was because he is gathering as many worshipers as possible for Nobis to offer it up on a silver platter and say, hey, let me back home now, buddy. Because this, again, is the mortal realm is not exactly a comfortable place for a god to be living. So Ivy has, while she's trying to tap into Cal's power again, she ends up having a vision about Selene and Arcasia's bargain while channeling her power into Cal. And Selene tells Ivy she has to choose home. And Ivy wakes up 10 hours later and tells Cal his power is limitless. And he says he can't access it without her. So they decide they're going to have to take a Marks together because she's like, you have an unlimited well of power. And he's like, I can't access it. You're the only person who's ever been able to tap into it. The three of them get to
Isn't
a
that
safe
weird,
house.
though?
Isn't it?
When I'm shitty, I'd be fucking livid. I'd be like, how dare you?
You're like, I'm stuck with this. I guess he's just so down bad for Ivy. He's like, I don't care. Do whatever you want to me.
I guess like my problem is though, like as crappy as it is that like somebody else has to like tap into you would be, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are they, Karanon in
Karanom? Yeah.
Karanom? I think that's kind of a neat idea, but I don't like the idea that like you have to tap into me in order to have like I don't know. That just would
he's
freak me the fuck out.
He's pretty powerful on his own, but he just can't access the depth of it.
But I'm just saying that would freak me out. Like,
yeah. So like the
dependency would make me real. Like, I don't like this.
It's just interesting that their like soul connection is what does it for that. And then so the three of them end up going to a safe house. And then this has like all of the rebellion leaders are there. She sees it's Kieran's lover, who has been like a total asshole to her like her entire life. And she's like, fuck this guy. And she ends up like punching, I think, him and Kieran in the face. And Cal's like, okay, you have to stop hitting people. And then Cal's brothers show up. Her best friends show up. And Cal's pissed that his brothers are there. He's like, you guys are not supposed to be involved in this.
But didn't they like go and pick up her best friend?
Yeah, they wouldn't grab them. And Quinn and Theo obviously have something going on. She's broken off her engagement to Nick. And they kind of all make up.
Who doesn't want a fucking Theo? I need me a Theo.
I know.
You find me a Theo. There's multiple Theos where I'm like, what the fuck? Did you guys just write this character for me?
If they name a character Theo, Star is like, yep, that's the one for me.
That's the one for me.
And
it's because they're always like just the right amount of offbeat that I'm like, like that offbeat.
Exactly. That day, they're kind of all making preparations and everything like that. And there's been multiple times where Cal has tried to tell Ivy he loves her. And she said, no, don't say it. Don't say it. Like, I can't handle it. Like, don't say it.
This is like the third book. Don't do it.
Don't tell me you love me.
Show me.
And she, again,
I'm sorry. I said show me, and my brain was like, put your cock in me. Like, I literally was like, what the fuck is going on with you today? You're like, ew, smut. Today I'm like, put it in me.
You're like,
show
more
me
smut.
that thing.
Give me the smut.
I have no idea what's going on with me today. Maybe I just need to get laid today. That's the problem.
So Cal,
today's the day.
Today's the day. The sun is shining. Oh my God. So today's
I don't know what it's like. I'm literally like too much caffeine. I don't know what's going on.
I'm
like
off
hardcore.
Right
But after you said it, I was like, it's like third book today. Don't do it. I don't love you. Show me you love me. Bend over.
We need Starbucks and Dutch Bros to please sponsor this podcast. I'm currently running off of an hour and a half of sleep. We're on podcast number 2 for the day. And we're both just like raring to go off of caffeine right now. That's the only thing. My body is made of caffeine. So thank you, Starbucks, for that.
And Dutch.
And Dutch
I love
Bros.
Dutch.
So, Cal and her are kind of arguing over things because she's basically like, yep, I'm going to go die tomorrow. And Cal's like, you don't have to, though. Like, this is, again, reminiscent of, spoiler warning for Throne of Glass. It's very reminiscent to the Kingdom of Ash, where Rowan's like, but you don't have to sacrifice yourself. And Aelin's like, but I do. This is kind of the same kind of vibe as like Cal's like, you really don't have to do this by yourself and like sacrifice yourself. We can figure it out. And she's like, no, I'm dying tomorrow. That's what's going to happen. So
these goddamn determined ass women. I think I'm broken inside. I'm like, fuck you. You can die. I'll stay alive.
So that night, she finally is like, they lay down together and they kind of cuddle on the settee, and he's trying to say that he loves her, and she's like, no, don't say it. And then finally, right before she falls asleep, he whispers, I love you.
I love you.
And the next day they go to infiltrate the palace, but they're sold out and they're captured by Corinthian soldiers. Tonics force down all of their throats so that they can't access their magic, all of the heirs. And then Cal is tortured in front of her. She's like chained to the floor, and he's also chained to the floor. And he starts like cutting down Cal's calves and like setting fire to drawing up fire around the amethyst throne and drawing it towards Cal and everything. And she calls to Marks and tells him that she's the one who can open the portal. And then she begs Arcasia to help get her magic back and to protect her one more time. And she can feel that like kernel of magic kind of brewing inside her. And then Marks comes over and starts kind of threatening her as well. Because this entire time he's trying to get Cal to access his magic and show him what he's capable of and to like give him his power basically through this. And then Ivy ends up using his magic right in front of him. Or her magic right in front of him. And she's like shaking the ground beneath him. And he's like, that's right, Cal. And she's like, you fucking asshole. I'm right in front of you using magic and you can't figure out it's me.
No.
Just because I'm a woman and you think I'm worthless.
Yes, because you are. You're a female. I'm sorry.
And Marks doesn't recognize it and assumes it's Cal the whole time. And then she ends up using all of her power to just completely annihilate him. He ends up being like, it's like a burst of light and death and everything. Because remember, only the god of death can kill another god unless you have a Godblade, and she is the product of death and light, so she's obviously got the god of death's powers. She kills him. He's literally like a hunk of steaming meat at the end of this. Like, he is wrecked. He is not coming back. And then because she used all of her power, she dies right after she tells Cal, I love you, and then she dies. Cal's like, why was this the first time you told me you loved me? He's like crawling to her body. This is Cal's
like every
POV.
fucking savage woman that's like, I don't need no man to tell me.
And he detects magic in her body. And so he starts begging all of the governors, like, you have to help. We have to save her. She's still alive. And they're like, we can't access our magic. Like, we have the same tonic you do. And then Kieran's like, we'll get a physician. Like, we have to save her. And
I hate to say it, but I just picture them all like, kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. And then she just starts rising off the ground. I don't know why. I know that's not what she wrote, but that's like what I was like.
I pictured like Akatar was kind of more what he was going. They were going for with that. But he's like, so Henry's. So they're all looking at him.
About Akatar until you just said it. And I remember reading that where they're all like,
yeah. So they're all looking around at them, and he realizes, so Henry comes over and he's like, hey, probably not the best time. But all the soldiers are like, our commanding general just died. What are we supposed to do? And then Cal's like, obviously the second in command to Mark, so that would be the next person. He's like, I don't want the title. Henry gets it. And Henry's like, okay. So then now Henry's Lord General. And So then Cal's like, don't take me to a healer. Heal her first. I want to go to my mother's altar and pray and like barter my life for her. And Henry's like, you stupid idiot. No, that's not happening. So he like shoves him down onto a cot and he's like, let me go. And then they give him a sedative so that he can't leave. And he's like, nobody's dying today. Like, I'm not doing this, Cal. Like, stop being so dramatic. We're going to fix you and we're going to fix her.
So
Fuck
dramatic. Look, princess, calm down.
But I kind of love that. Henry's like, no, we're not doing that. Ivy then goes to the Underrealm because she died. And we know from Deathsbane that Draven and Selene were discussing that the fact that it was time that she was going to show up. And I love that because Selene got to have 8 years with her and she's obviously misses her daughter, but Draven's never gotten to know her as a daughter other than like when he could go and see her when he had ended up in that realm. So I love that Draven is so nervous walking back and forth. He's like, oh God, what am I going to do? And like Selene even watches him like completely wilt the Deathsbane that's in his office that he specifically put in there for when Ivy shows up. And he's like, she like watches it happen and she's like, this guy is so anxious right now. And then she's like, we have to go to the throne room. Like she's going to be here really soon. And they had agreed she couldn't be there because it'd be way too overwhelming to have all of that going on. So they agreed that only the god of death would greet her because that would make sense when she ends up in the Underrealm. So they're like going back and forth and he's like, I have to go get the flower for her. So he runs back and Ivy, it's like way too late. Ivy shows up in the study because that's where he's going. And then they have their interaction and he kind of taunts her a little bit, does his whole god of death thing. And then he's like, you smell like my wife. And she's like, oh my God. My dad is the god of death and my mom is the god of light. Holy shit. And he says, she's like, I'm Ivy Fellows, governor of the Emerald region. And he's like, you're really going to use your mortal title when you are Princess Ivy, daughter of light and death, princess of the Underrealm and goddess of the Umbra. He's like, you get to choose what you want to do now. And so she uses her power to return home, which is to Cal.
Right? Like, who wouldn't?
Yeah, so she's kind of given the option, like, you can stay here, this is your realm, or you can figure it out. And he's like, but you have to make the choice. And so she ends up going back home, which is to Cal and all of her people there. So then we're back in Cal's POV. Ivy wakes up from being unconscious. And he had been like watching her fingers twitch. And he was like, no, seriously, it actually twitched this time. Like she's actually coming back this is all happening while she was visiting her father. So she wakes up and then the Ascension vote had been delayed as long as it could. And they're like, it's going to happen. We have to do it without her. And then she wakes up. So then she gets dressed. She goes to the Ascension vote and she ends up getting Sapphire voted in like she wanted to. They had all tried to vote for her. But she's like, I don't want to rule you guys. Like this is the last thing I want. And so Cal's like, so you ended up getting your way in the end. That's great. And then she's like, you can go home anytime you want if you want to see your father and like kill him or whatever you want to do. Like I can open the gate to the other realm. And he's like, well, when that time comes, we'll do it together. So
sappy.
So sappy, but I love it. And I have to say, I love Godsbane for how much there is potential for going forward. Like, I think I'm really
excited.
It wraps up well because it's not like it's kind of a cliffhanger, but it's not so much that I'm just like, oh my God, how long do I have to wait for the next book? Because I feel like satisfied in the ending. But
she only feels satisfied because of Deathsbane. Don't let her lie to you.
Deathsbane made me so happy. So
she was like literally mad when she finished. She's like, I have to read Deathsbane just to see if he fills in any of the gaps. So don't let her lie to you.
I'm not lying. I did read I did have that. I was like, oh, there's so many things I have questions about. And then I read Deathsbane and I was like, oh my God, everything makes so much sense. And I was so excited again to go back into Godsbane and like recognize everything in it. So I'm super excited for seeing where Ivy and Cal's story goes. But what I think was so cool about Deathsbane, not only because it filled in the gaps, but the love between Draven and Selene felt so epic. Like it felt like it was so like hard earned and like just this thing that they couldn't fight anymore. And I loved like how extensive that was and how even after she went and fell in love with someone else, it never overruled his love for her. So I loved it. I loved all of it. I think I gave Godsbane a 4. I would give Deathsbane a 5, and then after reading Deathsbane and going back and reading Godsbane, I'd give it a 4.5.
I gave it a 5 because I was like, indie author, make her a bestseller. So I totally gave it a 5.
Yeah.
But more out of like respect to like get it, girl.
Oh, seriously.
Get it. New
She's
York
like-
Times bestseller coming your way.
Yeah, she's living my author dreams. I hope to one day see my book somewhere along with Lindsey's. And yeah, this is so cool. I'm glad we get to cover an indie author finally. And I can't wait for more of this story because I genuinely am so stoked about it. So anyways, that was our coverage of Godsbane and Deathsbane. If you are watching this on YouTube, I'm going to throw up a slide so you can see where you can follow us on social media, and we will see you in the next one.